answers. Easter seals today.
Hello, I'm Carol Gault, and thank you for joining us here today on Easter Seals Today. Today we have with us Lisa Allen and Lisa Carrico, and thank you both for joining us. I'm having trouble getting it out today. My mouth's a little dry.
Thank you.
All right, so we have two Lisas with us, and I'm just going to let you both introduce yourselves and tell us what you do.
As you said, I'm Lisa Carrico, and I'm the program manager for Employment Connections, and obviously it's a service of Easter Seals.
I'm Lisa Allen, and I am the branch manager for Vocational Rehabilitation. We serve the western 10 counties.
Okay, all right. Well, let's start with Lisa Carrico, and let's talk a little bit about Employment Connections, and let's just tell us what Employment Connections actually is and what your role is there.
Okay. Employment Connections is basically an employment program designed to work specifically with individuals with disabilities. We have several different types of programs, and it's based on the need of the person with a disability. When most people think of Easter Seals, they think of individuals with more significant disabilities, and that's kind of the basis of how we started back in '94. It's a program called Supported Employment, and it's basically stating that we feel that everybody has the ability to work. It's just you have to find out what their skills are and what their interests are and match them to a particular job. Back in '94, Easter Seals was just like everybody else. We had a work center, so when people finished high school with a disability, you came and went into the work center, and it was a sheltered workshop, did piece rate and contract work. Well, the problem was that when your skill was not doing piece rate, standing there doing the same repetitive work over and over, which would be like myself, you didn't do very well and probably wasn't very happy. So this concept of supported employment came up and basically said, people with disabilities should have the same opportunities as anybody else. We need to look at their skills and interests and match them to jobs in the community. Why are we only giving them the option to work in a sheltered workshop? So back in '94, I moved to Paducah and was approached by, at that time, Department of Voc Rehab to write a grant, and Easter Seals was on board to write a grant to give individuals the opportunity to look at jobs in the community. And basically what we do is, again, just sort of the basis program of supported employment. We took individuals that were interested in looking at jobs in the community. We're not totally satisfied with the workshop, jobs and things, so we take time to get to know them. It's kind of building relationships with individuals, getting to know their skills and interests, and matching them to particular jobs in the community. We, found out we would go out and talk to employers about working with individuals. At that time, it was just like anybody else, looking at entry-level positions, just someone right out of high school. So we kind of began with working with a few people out of the work center and placing them in jobs just like any other person coming out of high school. You're bagging groceries at Kroger or at Super Value or any other grocery stores, to working at some of your department stores, things like that. The only difference is that we would provide them with any extra assistance they needed. So what we would do is we would go and look at the job and then try to match it to the person's skills and interests. But then they were hired on by the employer, just like anybody else. But then we would provide any extra assistance. So one of the big things with supported employment is that it's not a charity case. We're not saying hire this person just to hire them. We're saying we feel like with matching their skills and interests, we feel like they can do the job with extra assistance from us. So they have what we call an employment specialist that goes on the job with them. Some of the times it would be just for a couple of days and they were able to learn the job just like anybody else. Mm-hmm. Some of the times it would be 2 to 3 months, that they would need the extra assistance in learning the job, and then they would, be able to do the job just like anybody else. So supported employment is kind of the basis of everything. Now, with it, it's a long-term program. We still work with individuals we started with in '94 in that program. Again, just like us, they come out of high school and they do the jobs, like the entry-level positions. They do those for a few years and they say, okay, I'm tired of this, I want to do something else. So we look at more upper-level positions. We have individuals that are working in doctor's offices to some of the plants, and it all is based on, skills and interests and us going in and matching and just providing extra assistance and accommodations. The other programs in Easter Seals, after we did this program for several years, we found that there were individuals that needed extra assistance, but they didn't need that long term, and they kind of fell in the gaps. It was individuals, at that time I always used General Tire as an example. I was from Mayfield, and we were having a lot of folks that had worked at General Tire, some of the plants, or worked on the boats, that had hurt their back. They had worked there for 25 years, they hurt their back, they couldn't go back to that. They had never looked for a job before. So they had to kind of, start all over and say, what can I do? All I've ever done is physical labor. I have no skills. And they did, so it took us to kind of work with them on how to interview, how to look for a job. What's out there? What skills do you have? How can you match that to a job that's not as, physical, things like that. So, but individuals in this category really didn't need the long-term help or didn't need the help on the job. A lot of it was a lot of confidence building too. They went through a major life change and, thought they were gonna never be able to go back to work again. So, it hit individuals from that extreme to individuals that maybe had a learning disability that had never worked and couldn't fill out an application or something, so we would help with those. But again, they didn't need the extensive help as some of the individuals in our supported employment program. So we have that program. And the other program that we have that's pretty big that we started about 10 years ago is a program we call School to Work, and it is a program, we have a contract with McCracken County Schools and Graves County Schools, and it's working with individuals during their last 2 years of school that have a disability and that are not looking at going into higher education. What we can do is we can start with them as juniors in high school and start working with them on their vocational needs. We start out the first year just exposing them to as many jobs as we can in the community. Again, just like me, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So people were referred, students are referred, and a lot of them, a big thing is veterinarian or, work on computers. Mm-hmm. So we've had a lot of people come in and say, I want to work in a vet's office. And the first time we walk in the door and they see what all's involved and they smell the different smells, and it's like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be working with the cats and the dogs and all the good things. And so you get in there and it's not really what you thought. And so we get to deal with those issues during their junior year, up front. We also are looking at assessing what accommodations are they going to need once they go into a job. So we're able to deal with work ethic, how to just your basic things, how important it is to be on time, personal hygiene, looking at that and looking again at those skills and interests and matching those. Senior year, our goal is to really focus on a career that we feel like matches their skills and interests, and then the goal is that they're in a paid position before they graduate high school. So there's not that gap once they finish high school going home and sitting. This has been a great program. People are, finishing high school, and plus it's getting folks into higher level employment, because it's really given us 2 years to really work on something that matches their skills and interests. They're able to do some co-oping and job shadowing and things like that with that program.
It's amazing all the services that are really offered through Easter Seals and all the partnerships that are available.
Right.
And Lisa, why don't you talk just a little bit about what Voc Rehab does
Okay.
and the partnership that you all have? Because I think in just a few minutes here we're going to go to break. But before we do, let's talk about your partnership and what you do.
Okay. The Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, we're a state agency, and we see people who have any kind of a disability, kind of like what Lisa said, from cognitive, physical, mental health, or work-related injuries. They come in and they refer themselves. We get referrals from other agencies in the community, from the hospitals, from doctors' offices and schools. They come in and meet with a certified counselor, and the counselor will sit down and talk with them, and we collect medical data to determine, how significant are their limitations and are they going to be eligible for our services. Mm-hmm. Once that determination is made, then the counselor and the consumer will sit down and talk about, what do you want to do? Are you looking at some maybe secondary training? Do we need to look at some rehab technology, for somebody with a physical disability? There's a wide range of services that we can offer. Easter Seals is one of those services that we can offer if they're looking for supported employment or community-based. And at that point, if that's, what we have decided, then we would make the referral to Lisa and her employment specialist. Excuse me. But we do have a lot of people that will come in either out of high school or who have been injured on a job and just do need to be retrained. And we have people that are attending schools all over the state, some out of state, that we can assist with. Sometimes it's just coming in and like Lisa said, we do a lot of confidence building and self-esteem building and dealing with, issues, trying to put all the pieces together so that, they can go to work. Do they have transportation? Do they have child care? And we don't provide, right. It's not like we go out and buy a car, but we can pull all those services together for them. Are they getting maybe mental health counseling that they need, or treatment center, anything like that? We just kind of coordinate all that. And then once they're placed in a job or once they're finished with school and we place them, and we do have an in-house placement staff as well, we keep their case open. We follow them until 90 days of employment to make sure that they're stable on their job, the employer's happy with their performance, everything's working out okay, and then we close their case. And then we have several people, that maybe need us later down the line, and they can always come back. And
so you're always there for them to come
always
back
there.
to and,
Yes.
and utilize those services again if need be.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Well, I think we're going to take a break now, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about where you get your referrals from and maybe some success stories and a few other things. So we'll be right back after this break in just a minute. So stay tuned and come back and join us just a few minutes here on Easter Seals Today. Thank you.
Easter Seals Today.
We're back here with Lisa Allen and Lisa Carrico, and we're going to continue our conversation. And we were talking about referrals. I said that we would come back to that. So let's talk just a little bit about where your referrals for these programs come from. Which one of you would like to address that?
guess with us, all of our referrals, I mean, we do have a lot of people that will call just because we are Easter Seals and people know Easter Seals, so they'll call and talk to us about where they need to go. But as far as how our program works, all of our referrals come from the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. We are strictly funded through them, other than a few grants and things like that. So even if we have someone call, we will send them through the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation.
So, I mean, and that's one of the things that has been so amazing to me is, you know, not children, not necessarily teenagers, you know, adults, regardless of what age or what the problem is. Easter Seals really provides a resource. So if anyone has a question, I would encourage them to call. Would you say that's a fair statement, that you would encourage them just to pick up the phone and call and at least ask the question?
Yes.
Because there's a good chance that you may have a direction to send someone. There's a resource available. I know that we have the number to call, so it will appear on the screen. So let's talk just a little bit about a message that you would like to send to employers as well, because there's a good partnership there, I'm sure.
I think with us as employment, I think to realize that, you know, it's not a charity case. I mean, when we are going out to place individuals that we work with, and I think Lisa and I, we've worked together long enough, and we definitely both believe this, is I could speak for both of us, that we are putting the person there, we feel like the person can do the job. You know, there may need to be some accommodations, but we truly feel like that this person's going to be an asset to that employer. Now, there may be a different contribution in one way or the other. You know, we may have to go in and negotiate some things, but it wouldn't be, or negotiate some job tasks, but it wouldn't be taking away or anything like that. For example, a big word with us right now is what we call customized employment. And for example, we may go in and it's saving businesses money. I mean, we go in, we have a young lady that works at a doctor's office now, and when we were getting to know her, one of the things that we found out about her is she wanted to be, we could see her more in an office setting, just her personality. She wanted something where she could kind of dress up, and her parents kind of wanted her in kind of an environment to where they knew the people. Wasn't they kind of a little bit of a structured environment. You know, it wasn't a lot of people they didn't know. I mean, they kind of wanted to know exactly where she was and make sure somebody kind of looked over. And I guess just the fear of their daughter going out to work. And she was great with people, but she has a pretty significant communication disorder, and she wasn't comfortable using a lot of the accommodations that are available now as far as on the computer and things like that. But so we knew we wanted her out with people, but not something to where people had to depend on her for communication. So they went in, and the employment specialist went into a doctor's office that she knew and kind of just looked around at what people were doing. And one of the things that they found were the nurses, at the end of the day, were having to stay and put together patient folders for the next day. And then they also had to shred a lot of the files that were, they were done or finished with for the day, and then go through the mail at the end of the day. So the employment specialist kind of said, well, how would you feel about having someone come in that just did that? I mean, does it really take the technical skills of a nurse to put together the patient folders? I mean, it's basically putting the tabs on it, putting the forms that need to be in there for the next day. And they were like, no, that would be great. And as far as the mail, it was really just kind of sorting it out, some of the junk mail and what needed to stay and all that. And so they talked to him about this girl, Jessica, and they said, that'd be great. So they've hired Jessica on, and she works there right now 1 day a week, but they're getting ready to add her on another. And it's worked out perfect because, one, the nurses love it because, they don't have to go and do that at the end of the day. Jessica loves it because she takes total pride, and those patient folders are going to be perfect because that is her job. She also does the shredding, she does mail, and she does a lot of other things. She is also, when you go into that doctor's office, right in the front desk. Now, she's not dealing with the patients, but she's in the front, and every patient, it's a family practice, so people know her and they expect her to be there, and they ask for her. And so she may not communicate by words, but she always greets people with her smile, and she jokes around with people and everything. So they talk about how it's contributed because patients recognize her. Also, it saves them money because the nurses don't have to worry about that, and the nurses love it because they don't have to worry. So that's an example of some of the things that we do, and we feel like that it saves the business money. And just a big thing that, you know, when we do go in, we're doing it because we feel like it will help the company, not because we want them to hire a person with a disability. We truly feel like it's a win-win situation for both.
That's a really great success story there. That's a really good example. Has the economy impacted what you've seen in the marketplace?
It really has. I think we've seen two different things. We've seen, number one, a big surge in referrals coming in our door. So many more people are out of work. And then they're just, you know, we're seeing a different group of people who have maybe some really high skills, maybe, you know, a different group in that. What I mean by that is maybe people with, you know, college degrees, educated, more so walking in the door, not needing that training, but that have been laid off. Their companies have closed, and now they want to come in, they want jobs, and they want jobs at the same level, you know, that they just left. So that makes it very difficult because, you know, we all know that those jobs, there's not a lot of them out there right now. So an increase in referrals, a different consumer group coming through the door, and just not quite as many. There are jobs out there, but just not quite as many.
I think with us, it's made a difference, like she said. I think with more of the individuals that probably have what we talked about, the community-based, the short-term individuals, probably the ones that are more higher level and needing the higher level jobs, things like that. I think it's helped us. I think one of our selling points with our supported employment is individuals, and not to say that everybody in supported employment is just looking for a few hours a week. We do have some in that program that need full-time and benefits, but we have a lot of folks in the supported employment that are interested in working 10, 15 hours a week, and they do not have the need for the benefits and things like that. So our selling point to a lot of employers is when you go in and you have these people, and you have the one person that is doing 10 people's jobs now, and you know, they're the technical person, but they're also the person that's having to sort the timesheets or go through the mail or make the copies or, you know, keep up with the coffee, you know, and it doesn't get fit, you know, it's not quality work. I mean, we all know when you're doing all of that, something's going to lack. And so we can go to them and say, you know, morale's down. I mean, when you have that, we know health benefits are killing employers right now. So what about, you know, if we have somebody that is interested in just 10 hours a week or 15 hours a week, they don't have the need for the health benefits, they want to come in and just do, you know, they can do the sorting of the timesheets or sorting of the mail and help you, and it just builds morale. It helps that person's very proud of that job. You know, it's not their grunt work. We don't mean to go in and say, okay, we're going to clean all the restrooms, but it's important work, but it's maybe work where that person with the more technical skills can be doing other things and come in. So with that aspect of it, the economy's helped that program a little bit more, so we've had a little bit more success with that program.
Oh, that's interesting. It's interesting how it affects different things in different ways. So thank you both for that information. We have just a couple of minutes left. So is there one more thing that you would like to share before we leave the audience today? Just a tidbit that you would like to leave them with before we close?
I guess I just want to say, you know, that I think, again, speaking for both of us, you know, that I believe, you know, that anybody can go to work. You know, if they want to go to work, we can put them to work. And they just need to come see us and give us a call.
And I think for employers, if they have openings, if they call us, we're going to be just as honest. If they have an opening, let us come and look at it. We're going to look at the different job tasks, the culture of it before we refer someone, because we want to make sure it's a good match too before we send somebody over. So, sometimes the employer can call and say, we have this job, and we can say, we really don't have anybody. We also will call, Lisa and their other job placement and say, do you guys have anybody for this too? People across the state talk about how Easter Seals and the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation have such a great working relationship in this area than anywhere across the state. So I think
We really do.
We're very fortunate.
We work with several vendors, but yeah, we do have just kind of a special bond with Easter Seals, and we do a lot of co-trainings together and
if
that.
someone's watching today in Paducah, for instance, but they have a contact in Murray or Mayfield, there are services and offices in those locations, so
Yes.
they could actually call this number and you could put them in contact with someone in that area. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Right. Our main number, which is on the screen, we can refer you to any of the counties that we serve, and we do. We have office space in Mayfield to use. We have an office on Murray State campus, and of course we're downtown at the Career Center.
Okay. All right. Well, we thank you both. Again, that's Lisa Allen and Lisa Carrico, and we thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. And I'm Carol Gault, and I've been your host today for Easter Seals Today, and I will see you next time. Thank you again for joining us.